Well, Labov's narrative categories, again, abstract orientation, conflict, complicating action, evaluation, result, or resolution, and coda. Okay, these elements are part of Labov's analysis of PEN, personal experience narratives, and you will find that in his article, The Transformation of Experience in Narrative Syntax, in his book, Language in the Inner City, Studies in Black English Vernacular. Why am I saying this? Well, this is important to emphasize because we should be aware of the fact that these categories were initially used for the analysis of personal experience narratives, not for the analysis of stories. More specifically, they were used for the analysis of spoken discourse or spoken narratives in Black English vernacular. That's basically the book I'm making reference to, Language in the Inner City, Studies in Black English Vernacular by William Labov. However, Labov's categories have been used for the interpretation of narratives in other contexts. The categories suggested by Labov will undergo a process of resignification or resignifying when we use them in different contexts. For instance, and that's basically what we will do now, we will resort to Labov's categories for the analysis of a short story. More specifically, we will discuss Wakefield by Nathaniel Hawthorne, and we will get started by the abstract. Again, we will define abstract as the summary of the narrative. And as we will see in the abstract, you're kindly invited to read the whole story, not very long. But we will find that the abstract can be analyzed by adopting Labov's categories for the analysis of storytelling. So our first step will be the following. Notice that we have talked about orientation as a statement of who is performing which action in some specific context, that is, when and where. So here we learn that a man called Wakefield lived in London and he was married. So we get the characters, man, Wakefield, his wife, Mrs. Wakefield. They were married and they lived in London. We don't know when, but we do know where. Lived in London, we have the characters and we have the place. So notice that the abstract can be defined in terms of the category suggested by Labov. Category number 1, orientation. Who performed the action? Or who are the characters? That's the question. We got a man called Wakefield and his wife, Mrs. Wakefield. And we learn that they lived in London. So we know the place. Point number 1. Point number 2, the conflict. What happened here? This man, Wakefield, absented himself for a long time from his wife. And we should interpret wife as a metonymy of life. So Wakefield did not only leave his wife, but also his life. Next, we will talk about the conflict or conflict in action. Okay, this man was, again, married, and he absented himself for a long time. More specifically, we will later learn a long time, 20 years. He absented himself for a long time from his wife. As you will see when you get to read the story, he not only left his wife, he stopped going to work, and he set up residence in an upstairs room 1 block away from the place where he lived, or the place where he used to live. So we have the setting, who and when, and we also have this other element, the conflict. Then we have an expansion of the conflict. This man absented himself for a long time from his wife. We get the circumstances. We get the excuses. He made an excuse. He said he would go on a journey, but he took lodgings in the next street to his own house. And he dwelled upwards of 20 years. What he did during that time is to behold, or we can say he beheld his home every day and frequently the forlorn Mrs. Wakefield. So after introducing the conflict, we can expand a little, and that's what we'll call the action that accompanies the conflict. We can expand a little and learn that he made an excuse. The man, under pretense of going a journey, took lodgings in the next street to his own house. And he dwelt there upwards of 20 years, and he beheld his home every day and frequently the forlorn Mrs. Wakefield. And next, we will learn about the ending of the story, the resolution. And this is basically what is really weird, that he entered the door one evening as from a day's absence. But he did that after being absent for 20 years. When his death was reconcerted, his estate settled, his name dismissed from memory, his wife long ago resigned to her autumnal widowhood. And this final phrase, and he became a loving spouse till death, can be interpreted as the coda of the whole abstract, given that it's got some resemblance to the expression, and they live happily ever after.